All right. Okay, we are live and we have some special guests in the house. We have Ina and David Robinson, and we have Ala over at the Big Island. And today, I hope you guys tune in because this is going to be very, very informational. A lot of good stuff, a lot of good advice, from the top three competitors that's on the screen now. David's a pro, Ina's a veteran in competing, so is Ala. And for all of you folks out there that are thinking about or wondering about competing, you guys need to tune in because we're going to give the lowdown on what you guys have to consider before you even think about getting on that stage. So before we start kicking off the questions, why don't we do some real quick introductions, and I'll let David and Ina kick it off first, and then Ala, you can go second.
All right.
You go.
Okay. That was on the spot. Hi, Ina Robinson. David and I now live in Nebraska. We're kind of moving all over the place. Left Hawaii 4 years ago, went to California, and now we're here courtesy of the Navy. I am a national level competitor. I haven't competed in about a year and a half now, thanks to COVID and some other life events, but I am very well, very much so right back in it. Hopefully getting on stage sometime next year and making my way up to nationals again, figure competitor.
There it is. David Robinson. I don't know. I'm in prep, getting ready for Tampa. I switched to Class Ed a couple years ago, and I did okay, but I was fighting my natural body weight. Like getting that low was crazy. So moved back to 212. This is the return of my return to the 212 division. 3 weeks Tampa, then we're going to Texas, try to get that Olympic qualification. So root for me.
There you go, man. All right, what's up, you guys? My name is Ala. Actually, my first name is Kaniala, so Kaniala Oblau, but everybody calls me Ala. It's just easier to remember. Been in the game for a minute now. Bodybuilding, middleweight, so making my way up. And I've been running a Greg for the past few years now. This is the first year I'm taking off, doing a full off season, and then like Ina said, come back next year, do the whole qualification again, and hopefully look for USAs. So we'll go from there.
And I hope they bring it back to Las Vegas because it's just more fun,
Yeah.
Nothing against Arizona, but
Yeah.
you're comparing apples and grapes, right? So
USA's in Las Vegas, they just go together.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's Shane. Yeah.
Shane, the champ.
Okay, so let's get into this. What I want to do is, this is how I want to kind of structure this, is I want each and every one of you to have an opportunity to kind of share your own experiences based upon, the question that I'm going to ask. And you can see Bugsy. It's my pit bull right there. He's just, he's restless.
Yeah.
The bros tell you that he has all kinds of stuff going on and can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, anxiety, and we have to put a thunder shirt on him at night. Otherwise, he goes out every 2 hours to go pee, and so we can never get like 6 to 8 hours of consistent rest because like, he'll jump on the bed. It's like a baby crying and waking up to get fed. It's just like that. Yeah. So I'm living 20 years ago again. Okay, so let's kick things off. So this is, we're going to talk about everything that's related to bodybuilding, okay? Just to give you guys a premise of what we're going to be covering today. And I felt like who not better to talk about this than the three guys on the screen here because they have a lot of experience, and they've been competing for quite a while now, so they can share a lot of good advice with you folks. So here's the thing, right? And I'm going to kind of structure this in a way where we're speaking to someone who's like, hey, David, Ina, Ala, I want to compete. Can you give me advice on what I need to focus on, right? And you know, we get this all the time, right? And we have
Right.
a lot of times the folks that want to compete, they really have no clue of what you guys go through, you know. And I'm going to be honest, when I started, I had no clue what the hell I was doing too, right? And then you just kind of learn as you go. So I'm going to structure this in a way where I think I'm going to list the more important things that you need to kind of plan and prepare for, even before you think about getting on that stage.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the one. So I say that you need to understand the why, right? Why are you competing? That's first and foremost, right? So David, let me ask you this question, and then Ina and Ala, you guys chime in after David's done. David, why did you decide to compete?
So I think mine was, it was at first it was just compete in a bodybuilding show because another bodybuilder told me that I look good and I can probably do well. That was literally the only reason why I competed in my very first bodybuilding show. And then I went through the process. I didn't have a coach or anything. I YouTubed the mandatories. I YouTubed the quarter turns. I YouTubed like bodybuilder dieting. I was eating Subway, you know, up until about maybe 5 weeks out from my show because I thought, you know, it's a clean sub, right? So I knew nothing. I kind of just taught myself like what to do and how to do it, and I looked horrible, you know, in this very first show, but it was just everything that I went through, and I accomplished something. I accomplished it the wrong way. Like I did everything wrong, but I got to the end. I got to the finishing point, and I got on stage, and there was people cheering, and I got a little trophy, and I felt good. I felt like I accomplished something, and from there I was just hooked to accomplishment. And I was, you know, I'm good at a lot of things, but I thought that I could be great in bodybuilding. I really thought that, and I still do. So I just thought I could be great in it, and you know, I just kept going from there. But even still, I didn't know everything else that went into it as far as, and we'll talk about these things, but like family life, how that intertwines, and relationships, all the stuff that we're going to talk about today. I still didn't know anything about that, how that was going to intertwine. So it was a long journey, but yeah, that's my why.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Ina?
So in 2009, I was stationed in Virginia, and I went to Linda Murray's bodybuilding show. And it was my very first time being exposed to bodybuilding. I mean, of course, went to the gym, worked out, but, you know, we all went to the gym and worked out at some point in our lives and didn't really know the why, right? So I went to the show, I saw it, and I was like, wow, you know, this is really incredible, the way men look, the way women look. And I remember Ronnie Coleman was on stage as a guest poser, which completely like blew my mind, right? He was like, what, a year or two after retirement. Fast forward a year later, 2010, I go back to the 2010 Linda Murray show now, and I see my nail lady that I see every day on stage competing. And I was like, holy crap, I didn't know that's what she looked like underneath her you know, uniform. And I was like, okay, well, I already go to the gym. I really enjoy it. Why not take it to the level where, you know, maybe I like it? So I reached out to her and I said, hey, you know, I've seen you on stage. Would you be interested in coaching me? And she said, hey, I've never coached anybody, but let's try. So we tried. And I was with her from August of 2010, kind of going through the off season, you know, learning what my body does, what my body likes or doesn't like. And then I went into a prep for a 2011 Northern Kentucky show. So we flew to Kentucky. I ended up winning my class for the first show, and I remember looking at my coach Gina, and she's all crying in the aisle between the seats, and to me it was a feeling of accomplishment that I've done something that I never thought I was going to do. And in the process of getting there, I was told numerous times that I wasn't going to succeed. So that became now my personal goal of proving people wrong. And if you tell me something I can't do it, listen, I'm up for a challenge. Let's prove people wrong. I caught the bug. About 4 months later, I competed in the show in Virginia, and I took top 5. And I took about a year and a half off, deployed, came back, and I mean, hit the road running. Ended up, going to nationals. I was in the second call out, my very first national show, and that's when I was exposed to what the national level competitors look like, and that now became a different goal to look like that. And it just, I mean, it went on, and now 11 years later, the goal is to finish something that I started. Otherwise, I kind of feel like, well, I've kind of wasted all these years to reach nothing, right? So to me, every break, every year, year and a half, 2 year, it's just a break until I get back on stage and actually get to my goal of getting a pro card and see how far I can go with that. I found that that's something that I'm good at. Something that is a therapy in a way. You go to work, you work 10, 12 hours a day. Most people will just go home, kick their feet up on the couch, but we go to the gym because that's a different type of tired that I like. It takes your mind away from everything. It's a way of escape,
Mm-hmm.
That's my why.
Mm.
Allah?
Okay. So I was always around bodybuilding, growing up as a child. My dad always worked out, and he would always, do the front double bicep and stuff in the garage, but he never competed in a show. So I was kind of always involved with that type of realm. It wasn't until I got done with college and I became a personal trainer, and I was not getting any clients. I was like, oh man, what am I going to do to get clients? I need to figure out a way to get people to me as a trainer, right? So I threw myself into a bodybuilding competition. And like David said, you do everything. I did everything wrong too. I never hired a coach. I did everything by myself. And you get to the end, you kind of figure things out. I placed dead last. I was the biggest one on stage, but I placed dead last because that's not what they're looking for, right? But I think the one thing that stood out from that first show is I won the overall best poser award. So with that being said, out of all these people that were there, I was like, okay, something has to be there for me to find, because I got that, and that was my first show. So like I said, I threw myself into a bodybuilding competition, didn't know anything. And then from there, you want to get better, right? So you figure things out along the way. So after that, in 2010, I did every other year. And for me, my why changes as prep starts or as prep begins, because there's different things that you latch on to during prep. For me, so like for that first show, it was get clients, right? So my second and third show was actually going through an actual prep and feeling like the suffering and that hard work that you have to get to where you got to go. And there's numerous times for me that I wanted to quit. 6 weeks out, 5 weeks out, I was like, I don't want to wake up. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm this and that. But my why for that time, and I'll always remember this, was my grandfather and my uncle. They passed away from cancer, and they fought cancer for like 4 years, 5 years, and they never quit. So if they can do that and they're fighting cancer all the way till they end up passing away, what's my excuse to not get on the treadmill at 4 a.m. and do the cardio for 1 hour, right? Mm-hmm. That was my why. And until this day, I'll always remember that, because you get those days where you're tired, you're hungry, you don't want to do the stuff that you have to do, but you got to get up and do it anyway. So that's my why. That's how I started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that question, there's no real right answer, right? But I think that for you guys, just understanding the motivation that's going to drive you to get to the show and understanding why you want to get there is important, because there's a lot of folks out there that they just want to get on stage because I want to look like David. That's why I want to compete, right? And to me, that's not a strong enough why that's going to motivate you to do the cardio, like Allah said, at 4 o'clock in the morning. Get your ass up, do fasted cardio, meal prep for the entire day, train, do another 45 to 50 minutes of freaking cardio, and then do it again the next day. You know, so for you folks, it's important because you guys kind of understood, like you guys had an end goal, right? Like Ina wanted to just do this. The mail lady was there, right? So she helped prep her. You know, David, you had your reasons, right? Guys are like, man, you need to get into bodybuilding, and you actually love it. Like it's your passion, you know. And for Allah, it's like his past experience with his family. So and what they went through, right? And then just you know, his dad doing the front of a bicep in the garage, and so you guys kind of like just grew up around it, you know. And that's important for the guys to understand, because you have people that have not stepped in the gym and they see all this stuff on Instagram and they're like, okay, I can do that. I want to get into a show. But you need to really understand the big W. So I think that's important. So for those of you guys who are out there watching this, you need to start taking notes, because it's important for you to understand the why. Okay? Okay. So the second thing on the list is the time factor. Okay. And when I mean time, I mean, do you have the time in your day to commit to what you need to do to get on stage and do well? So again, David, what about your challenges with time, man, with your job and all that stuff?
Yeah, like so, I want to be at the level of bodybuilding where the the high level guys, they don't have jobs. Like they bodybuild, they eat, they train, they go, they take a nap, they get up, they train some more, they eat some more, whatever, you know. But me, you know, I'm up at 3:30. I'm on cardio at 4. I'm done cardio by 5. Back home by 5:30. Have to get that first meal in by 6. I'm at work by 7. You know, I work all day long and then come home and then train and then do another hour of cardio. And I'm a full-time college student, so I got 3 classes that we're in week 6 of college. You know, so and then I got my wife, I got my kids. Like, there's not enough time in any day. There's never enough time. There's never enough time. And I think with bodybuilding, you really learn time management. Like, are you at least get a good hold on time management, because every single second counts. Every single second of every day counts. If you're trying to do well, and not only do well at bodybuilding, but do well in your personal life. I continue to go back to personal life, because I'm at a point in my life now where I have bodybuilding, but you cannot forget your personal, your family relationships with your family, with your wife, with your kids, your parents, your siblings. So it's not enough time, but you just have to make it work. But man, time. What's time? I don't even know what that is. You know, that's my.
Yeah. How about you, Ina?
My old boss once told me, if you have 30 minutes, it's only going to take 30 minutes, right? So if you have 30 minutes free somewhere, you just squeeze it in. Whether you have time, I think, depends on how bad you want it, really. You can find a whole bunch of excuses why you don't, or you can just sacrifice your sleep or sacrifice your lunchtime and go get things done. When we lived in Hawaii for 2 years, I worked swing shifts. So, and actually constantly rotating schedules. So I would work 12 hours from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for a few days, then 2 days off. And then I would work from 6 p.m. all night to 6 a.m. Sometimes you'd find me in Powerhouse at 1 o'clock in the morning. That was my lunch break, but I would drive down from Wahiva to do cardio. So now today, when I think about whether I have time, listen, I got a 7 to 4 job. If I cannot make it with 7 to 4, I got a problem, because I used to make it with a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. job getting ready for nationals. So I think experiencing that and taking time, again, you go to the gym during lunch if you can't get up in the morning. I hate training in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I need to be dragged out of bed, right? So if that's how I am, then I need to suck it up and go to the gym and do cardio at lunch. Or I need to, not want to be home early after work, but go straight to the gym and get things done. It's all about how bad you want it. You're going to find time. Unless you work 24 hours a day, you're going to find time to work, sleep, and then get your stuff done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Allah?
Oh, I remember. So now for me now, it's getting a little better because I play music. in the evening time, and I make my own schedule, right? And music is just like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours most, whatever. But I remember a couple of years back, I used to work at the hotel, and I was a valet. I used to work valet, and I would have, I'm like, I kid you not, I would have my chicken breasts and my potatoes in my pocket in a Ziploc, and I would run down, grab a car, turn the AC on, sit there, eat my chicken and potatoes, and then drive up and drop off the car. So like, it's all about like what time do you have and how bad do you want it? You'll make it happen no matter what circumstance you're in. So like that, for example, I remember on a lunch break, instead of going to the cafeteria, I would go into one of the rooms and in the office and take a nap for 30 minutes, wake up and get back out there and start running for cars again or whatever it may be. So timing is very, very important, especially in this sport of bodybuilding. And like David said, you not only do you have your work life, but you also have your family life as well. So you got to consider, your loved ones, your parents, your children. They all come into play too, as far as taking care of them and make sure they have their needs. So timing is very important for this.
Mhm. Yeah, and you guys touched on like every important aspect of the time factor, right? So I mean, I'm taking notes as you guys are speaking, and some of the key things that I've heard was like time management, right? And it's really basically what it is you got to set your priorities as far as, okay, what's going to take precedence over what. And let me give you guys an example. So when I'm in prep, right, there's 24 hours in a day, and waking up at 4 o'clock, doing my fasted, whatever, meal prepping, whatever, going to my 8 to 10 hour job, training, cardio, eating, whatever. When I get a phone call from someone that I know is going to talk for an hour, I'm not going to answer that call.
Yeah.
Like literally, I'm not. And these guys are like, wow, you just ignore my call. I'm like, I don't have time to chat for an hour, like for real, And when you get to that point where you're trying to succeed and be the best that you can be on stage, you really have to take every second into consideration, And like Ina said, I mean, cardio at 1 o'clock in the freaking morning, and like Allah said, I mean, he's eating when he's parking the freaking car, It's like, so those are things that average people will never do, because they would never achieve the things that you guys achieve, right?
Mm.
It's being able to put yourself in a position that's uncomfortable, and that's not normal, right? It's just not normal, And I think the only way you're going to understand the time factor is if you actually get into it. But
Yeah.
it's important for the folks that want to get into competition to understand it before. I mean, I'm sure you guys experience this. You guys tell people and they still want to do it. And then 3 months in the prep, they quit, right?
Yeah.
Because they just can't do it. They just can't manage it, right? So, so yeah, time is very, very important. Okay, number 3. This is the third thing. So the first one was understanding the why. The second thing is the time factor. The third one is, and David touched on this early on, is relationships, right? And so relationships and how you guys manage relationships while you're getting ready for the show. David?
I think you just, honestly, if you want your relationship to work, then you'll figure out a way to make it work. Because prep gets hard, not just prep, but bodybuilding period, off season, contest prep. It's hard. It requires a lot of personal time for you to dedicate to yourself, right? And I mean, I always say that you have to keep in the back of your mind that you still have a family, unless you're one of the guys that don't. I want my wife to continue to love me, So I have to make sure that I keep her needs and what she wants from me as a husband, as a partner, as a friend, in the front of my mind, as well as my kids. And I mean, relationships are more than you're like a romantic relationship. I got a relationship with my siblings, my mom, my dad. You have to be cognizant of those other people that matter, because where they, first off, they don't understand what you're doing. A lot of people don't even understand why you're doing it. To them, they think it's silly, but if you know that they don't quite understand, at least keep their feelings and what they're wanting and needing in the front of your mind, and at least give an effort to let them know that they're still there. I still see you. You're still right here in front of me. I'm doing this, but you're still right here. But I mean, it's a lot easier said than done. It's and anybody that's done this with a partner, or it's a lot easier said than done. But I always say that if you want your relationship to work, it'll work. It'll work. That's what I feel.
So I think it goes both ways. So we got lucky because obviously when we met, both of us were competitors, right? So there is an understanding of what each of us goes through during prep, right? He could look half past dad and be extremely tired when I see him, and to anybody else it may be a little annoying, but I know how he feels. He feels right now that he's pretty much ready to go to sleep in the next 30 seconds, right? So it was always easy for us to kind of go through prep. So, sorry, that's our little one. We've actually done a prep for the same show together, and I don't really know why some people struggle, some couples struggle. To us, it was a no-brainer. We prepping food was easy. We were prepping the same food for each other, and we anything that we do in life, bodybuilding or not, we always tag team. It just kind of makes it easier on both of us. So both being competitors definitely is easy. Right now, David is competing. I'm taking some time off. So while he says that he has to make adjustments, I think it goes both ways, because I can't tell him, hey, I support you in what you're doing, and then expect him home every night by 7:00 and be upset when he's not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So because it's like, okay, well, if you support me, then you understand that sometimes I have to stay longer, that my workouts can take longer, and I have to take that time and I can't cut it short. So it definitely goes both ways. I do feel for people who have, in the relationship that compete and they're in relationship with somebody that doesn't. Again, you don't really understand how that person feels on a daily basis. You don't understand why we can't just go out to eat somewhere. Oh, just grab a salad or just eat their chicken breast. It's fine. And no, it's the same chicken breast. You'll be okay. People who don't compete, people who don't understand the nutrition side of it, they will have a hard time. And I think in that case, it takes a lot of communication. So the bodybuilder, the competitor, really has to break it down Barney style. This is what it takes. This is why, this chicken breast is different from this. This is why I'm tired. I think that's the only way it's going to work. Otherwise, you think the other person understands because, hey, this is what I'm going through. How do you not understand I'm tired? But they really don't. And I think the longer you are in this sport, the farther removed you are from the way that others don't understand you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's true. Communication is, I think, very important, and I think along the lines of those, if well, David and Ina are in the sport before they met, so they didn't know what it takes, right?
Right.
I think if you're dating someone that has no idea of the sport, communication is very, very important. And you need to educate your partner about what's happening throughout prep, instead of waiting too long and then you blowing up on your partner, expecting them to know what's going on in your brain, but they don't, because they don't have any idea on what's happening. So I think communication is very, very important. Educating them about the sport, about what you're going through, and even having them talk to like your coach, for example, or having them talk to other competitors about what's Ala going through, or what's what's she feeling like, just try to open up the doors for them a little bit more, I think is very important. So communication, I think, is one of the main ones to look forward to.
I agree.
I will say this. While I understand why we can't go out anywhere and why we can't do anything, he knows that there's going to be a lot of making up to do after the show. There's a list of places that I'd like to go. I did pick the most expensive steakhouse in the area that is just waiting for him to call and make reservations. So,
All right.
and I think that's what it is. Like between shows, between preps, we try to do the most. We try to pack every weekend with things, with family-like things, right? So when the prep comes, it's like, okay, you know what? Now we can chill on weekends. Now we can take some time off and, you know, I can find to do something, because when the show is over and you have a little bit of a window for family time again, you're gonna go full blast.
Yeah.
I think in addition to that too, let me put something in there. In addition to that too, explaining to your parents is kind of a big thing too, because I had this situation one time I was in prep, and my mom hated the way I looked, the way I acted, the way I felt. And as a mom, right, all you want to do is you want to take care of your son. So how do you take care of your son? Well, feed him, cook him this, cook him that. You know, make sure he eats well so he feels better. But, you know, me as her son telling her, no, mom, I can't eat that, you know, and she almost takes it, it's almost like disrespectful.
Oh my God, yes.
Like,
Yes.
wow, son, you're not going to eat my food? Okay. Go, you know what I'm saying? So that brings you back to communication. So after that, and after the after the show, and we actually sat down for dinner and this and that, you know, explained to her, mom, you know, next time I go into prep, this is what's going to happen. And this is all because I'm trying to achieve this goal. Now, once I get there, it's not forever, right? We're still going to go back to that steakhouse, you know, post show and this and that. So just hang on tight just for a little bit, and they'll understand. You just gotta communicate. So
yeah,
that's my mom's.
You have to always eat your mom's food, Ala. You know.
I am now.
You know, we just freeze it when moms come over and she starts cooking. She puts her little twist on our diet food. We just freeze it.
Yeah, eat it when. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, relationships are important, man, and you know, I think you know, you guys hit it on point where, you know, if you're in a relationship with a significant other that competes, it's definitely much easier, right? Kind of like what Ala mentioned, versus having someone that, you know, has no clue about, you know, competition, training, nutrition, cardio, all that stuff. I think that you know, if you decide, and I'm talking to the folks out there, if you guys decide to compete, you really have to get like a relationship meter, and you need to figure out where your relationship stands today, right? Because if your relationship is broken, I can guarantee you it's going to break.
Yeah.
If you have a strong relationship and the trust factor is there, then you probably have a higher chance of you know, succeeding, versus if you're in a relationship where your significant other has no trust and faith in you, because you will be away from the house hours and hours and hours, and you could be on the cardio machine for 45 minutes to an hour, and your significant other will think that you're with someone else. And you know, so if the trust factor is not there, don't do the show. Like, simple. Just don't.
Or reconsider your relationship.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. And you know, so that's on the significant other. You know, Rose did a show back in 2016. She did the Paradise Cup, and one of her really good friends, her wedding day was on that same day. And so, you know, Rose called her and she said, you know, in advance, I said, I can't make it. I'm actually competing on that day. And her friend has since not spoken to her. So, yeah. So that relationship was broken because of competing, you know. But, yeah.
All good.
All good.
All good. Move on. Okay, so we have understanding the why, we have the time factor, we have relationships. Number 4, your mental stability. I think that your mind needs to be in the right place so you can focus. David, what do you think?
Oh man, like that. So having a strong mind, everybody, I mean, anybody that competes knows that your mind has to be strong. You have to be in the right mental space to be able to bear that prep. You know, if you have, it's one thing for things that happen during a prep and you weather those, you know, those storms, but it's another thing to go into a prep when there's a lot of shit going on, like a lot. Like if you have financial issues, or if you got relationship issues, like you just talked about, you know, your mom's sick, or you know, whatever is important to you. It's another thing to go into a prep with a lot of unresolved issues, because that's just going to make your prep 10 times harder. You there's no way to be focused on the prep in its entirety because you have so many other things going on. So I would say do yourself a favor, and this is for anybody that's thinking about competing. Do yourself a favor and just before you go into a prep, just make sure that your life is settled, or at ease. There's not a whole bunch going on, because the prep is going to get hard, and if other things are already happening, like issues, it's just going to make the prep that much harder. You probably will quit, or you won't be your best, or just the list of bad outcomes is endless. So definitely be in a good mental space, before going into a prep. And if things happen during prep, you still have to have that same strong mind. You have to be able to see it through. I mean, unless it's something. I mean, I've had family members die during prep, and I went to bury them and come back, and I continue my prep. I'm not saying that's, a lot of people would say that's the wrong thing to do in whatever, but for me, I used it as motivation, and I kept my mind strong. I was able to continue with that prep, but you just have to have a strong mind before going into a prep. During prep, like mental strength is probably one of the most important things. And let's not even talk about like staying on diet and staying on your training regimen. What do you mean, coach? You're bumping my cardio up to 2 hours a day. What do you mean? You take those instructions and your mind is strong enough, and you say, okay, but this is what needs to be done. What do you mean I only get 35 grams of carbs today? I'm hungry as shit. That's just what needs to be done. And that's all mental. The other day, I was so freaking tired. I was so tired, and I was making every excuse as to why I couldn't train. And I was thinking, well, maybe I'm overtraining, and maybe I'm doing too much cardio. And I looked at Ina, and Ina said, take your ass to the gym. Because she was my rock at that point, because she knows if I'm breaking or if I'm not. And she was able to get me back into that strong mindset to, go to the gym, because you still have it. Your mind's getting weak. Let me help you strengthen your mind. And I mean, she did that. So mental strength is very important. Very important. Yeah.
Well, and if your mind isn't right, if you're not focused, if you have life events that are stressing you, stress releases cortisol. Cortisol slows down your fat loss. Now you're stressing even more because you feel like you're behind. When we left Hawaii and moved to California, I was in the middle of prepping for USAs. And I thought, okay, well, everything's going according to the plan. We have the movers moving. I'm staying while we're waiting for our place. I was fortunate enough to move close to my parents, so I stayed with them. I didn't feel stressed, but because I was focused on many things at once. I wasn't ready, and we pulled out of USAs, and then fast forward 2 years later, 2019, we now moved from California to Nebraska, and I was in the middle of prep for North Americans. Again, it's not a big deal. It's not across the ocean. We're just getting in the car, moving. But I didn't come in my best, and I didn't think that I was stressed out. I thought that I was in the right mental place, but I wasn't. Sorry, guys. There are too many things going on, and even my coach said, he was like, "Listen, we tried our best." I stayed on diet. I stayed with cardio. Did cardio in some random gyms and random places, but I wasn't as focused as I needed to be. And again, it's that underlying cortisol release that just slows everything down, and you make one step forward and 2 steps back if you're not settled.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think as far as like the mental aspect about everything, um, I'm gonna go the opposite way. I'm gonna say you never know how strong your mind is until you go into prep. I'm just gonna leave it like that. It's just you never know what you're gonna do until you actually get into prep and do it. Everything around your whole life could be shit, right? But the only constant thing you have is prep. So now, what do you do from there? You're gonna do the fasted cardio. You're gonna get up and you're gonna cook your foods and this and that. And then it's gonna get difficult. So now, what do you have to do from there? I think you adjust and you adapt, and from there, that's where you learn a lot about yourself. You grow instead of wasting. And we go back to time management again. Instead of wasting, this X amount of time on doing something, you have to do this instead. And it's in your brain, it's in your mind that makes the adjustment, right? So I think for me, you never know how strong you are mentally until you actually go to prep and truly stick to the prep.
Yeah.
There's going to be times where you break down and you don't want to do the cardio and get to the gym and you just feel like shit, but you have a solid person next to you, like David has, get your ass to the gym, and boom, it just wakes him up and he gets it going again. And that in a sense strengthens his mind as well for the next day and the following days after, because he's going to come back to that part again and he's going to feel that way again, or we're going to feel that way again, and we're going to remember that and feel like, oh, I remember being here, this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
So you learn as far as adaptation is concerned with your mental aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think. Oh, go ahead, Ala.
No, that's it. That's all.
Yeah, and I think I think Ala, what you said is on point, because because you guys have all competed in multiple shows, not just one, right? A bunch of shows, and you learn from every past show, right? And what you learn from every past show, you apply to the next show. So I think for you folks, your minds just get stronger, because you've been there, you've done that, you know how to adapt, you know what to do, you can adjust, and your mind just gets stronger, just like how your muscles gets bigger, right? And for when I'm thinking about being in the right state of mind, like when I did my first show in 2009, my mind was fucked, right? Because I was just getting off of a divorce, and I actually channeled all of that anger into the training, right? So I use that to my advantage in a sense, but man, I didn't pay my bills, I didn't clean my house, I didn't do shit, I didn't wash my car. And then after the show is done, then I'm like, fuck, I gotta pay all my bills, I gotta wash my car, I gotta clean my house. So it's like, I want folks to remember that when the competition is over, life still goes on, man.
Yeah.
And you need to be mentally focused, not just for the show, but for the aftermath too, right? Because a lot of times we don't talk about what happens after the show, when the hype is gone, when your routine breaks down, like David said, right? When you're not on a time management schedule anymore. And that's when a lot of guys' mental breaks down too, because they're not prepping, they're not doing the cardio, they're not structured. Now they're unorganized and unstructured, right? So it's I think it even goes beyond competition. But yeah, you just definitely have to be in the right state of mind to begin things anyway. So what you guys touched on was spot on.
I think what you just brought up, Greg, that's a good point. I found it being a lot easier focused in prep because it's very structured. There's no, left or your left and right boundaries are very, very narrow, right? So very little room for error, and you have an end goal. Then you go into off season. Now your left and right boundaries are a lot wider, and I found it a lot more difficult to be in the right mental state to be more focused in off season. And I got this 30 minutes of cardio to do. No big deal. I'm not going to do it today.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how you guys all feel, but I think in prep it's easier. It's you got a very narrow lane to stay in, and you just it's laser focused on the show.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. I agree. Yeah. I hear a bird. Is that you, Allah?
I covered them up earlier, but
You guys have who has the bird?
We got a whole zoo here. We got 2 dogs, 2 birds, and then David had a very impulse purchase and brought a Charlie the hamster home a couple of months ago.
A hamster?
it's probably the birds trying to eat the hamster.
Oh man, right on. Okay. Okay, so we got understanding the why, we got the time factor, we got relationships, we got mental stability. So let's just say everything lines up. The stars, the moons, everything looks good. The next question for the guy that wants to compete is go find a coach, right? Find a coach, someone that's going to mentor you, someone's going to cheerlead for you. Problem is there's a bunch of coaches out there. Like there's a ton of them. There's experienced ones, there's inexperienced ones, right? And so I think what's important is that these guys have to do their research, look for outcome-based coaches. And what I mean by that is look for the coaches that have successfully coached people, not just one, right? But, a handful of folks that did well in shows. So Dave, what's your perspective on finding the right coach and being able to work with that coach? And how important is that?
So I would say, and it's gonna sound a little weird, but anybody that wants to compete, that comes to me and asks me about competing, I'm gonna tell them first they need to be their own coach. And what I mean by that is, if you go and hire a coach, your coach will have all these questions first, trying to figure out what kind of person you are and what. But if you don't know who you are yourself as a bodybuilder, that puts that coach way behind as far as learning who you are. So I say you coach yourself. I did it. Ina did it for a while. You coach yourself for a while, figure a lot of things out on your own. And I'm not saying do this for 10 years, but I'm saying do your own research, do your own supplement research, find out about the supplements or the drugs that they're going to try and put, like, educate yourself, teach yourself, coach yourself, be the best that you can be with your own potential. And as you're doing that, you'll start learning. You'll start, if you're on Instagram as a bodybuilder, which every bodybuilder is, you'll start, seeing coaches on Instagram, and you can start learning about different coaches that way before you jump head first into just one coach. Coach yourself, find out who you are as a bodybuilder, find out what you believe your potential is, what your limits are, how strong your will is, how strong your mind is. Just find out who you are as a bodybuilder. Learn about the certain coaches that are out there as you're doing this. And then when it's time, for me, it was when I went into nationals. I'm sorry. When I went into the New York Pro, my first pro show, I turned pro with no coach at all. But at that point, I had a lot of time to research coaches and actually meet certain coaches and find out who were the clout chasers and who were the ones, as you said, Greg, given or having results. And then I was able to hire an actual coach. But my advice would be to coach yourself. You have to know who you are as a bodybuilder, as a competitor, as a person. You have to know how you handle all of this, and then go hire a coach. Coaches are not cheap, so do it the free way and coach yourself for as long as you can. And then when you're at that level where you need a coach, find a good one.
So I don't necessarily agree with that outlook. I would say be your own advocate. So and the only reason why I'm saying this is because there's a lot of misinformation out there, right, on the internet, Instagram, and all these YouTube channels of people who claim to be, nutritionists, dietitians, know everything about supplements and everything about gear. But in these guys, these yesterday's gym bros today want to be competitors, right? They read all that, they create their little chicken, rice, and broccoli diet, right? And they kind of set themselves back. And especially it's important for women to not kind of fall into that, because we also have to think about our endocrine system, our reproductive system, and everything that's going to have long-term effects, right? So, but what I will say is, yes, look at Instagram. You can look at Facebook. Look at kind of the track record, how big the teams are. The bigger the team, usually the less of a one-on-one attention you're going to get. And find a coach. Once you find a coach, then now educate yourself. Right? Again, there's so much misinformation out there, but you have to know the right questions to ask. And the only way to know the right questions to ask is now maybe even go out there and get a certification in nutrition. Understand what the food does on a micro level, right? So when the coach gives you a diet, you can ask, hey, why this and not that? And if your coach tells you, well, because I said so, move on, go find somebody else. Because a good coach will take their time to educate their clients, and if they are just like giving you the diet, call me in 2 weeks and not explain the why, then that's not a good coach. Another thing, coaches that care about your blood work, that care about the levels of different, the enzymes and everything else you have going on. Those are the people to stick with. But if you have a coach that didn't even ask you, hey, have you ever had your thyroid checked, but just gives you, all these different things that in the long run can hurt you, that's not a right coach either. So I think for women especially, again, you kind of find someone that you feel kind of you get the vibe, have that initial consultation, but then look out for the red flags. And the red flags being, again, they don't care about your blood work. They don't care about your physical state. They're just kind of that cookie cutter diet with chicken, rice, and rice cakes. And at the same time, educate yourself and advocate for yourself. So if the coach gives you the list of all these supplements to take, well, something doesn't seem right. There's too many stimulants. What about my adrenal health? Well, he never asked you for that. So does he really care? Probably not. So yeah, that's kind of my rant. If you want to go ahead and find a coach, kind of find the one that you vibe with. And also, a lot of people are afraid to jump ship, right? They stay loyal to the coaches, even though they know that it's not a right thing for them. Listen, a good coach will never take it personal. Mm-hmm. The main thing is to never burn bridges in this industry. It is very small. You burn bridges with one coach, the next one and the third one are going to know. And guess what? One of them is probably going to be a judge at one of the shows that you're going to be in, So it's okay to part with people. No hard feelings. Move on to the next one. Just don't ever burn the bridges.
Yep.
I'm gonna agree with Ina on that one. I'm gonna say, yeah, find a coach that fits for you, and it's okay to move to a different coach, if you decide to, because sometimes the chemistry might not be there with that certain coach. It might just feel off. So, as a upcoming competitor, it's okay to step away and let that coach go and go to another coach, but like Ina said, you don't want to burn bridges in this game because it is a small knit community. Everybody knows everybody. Yeah. So some way, somehow along the lines, oh, Allah did this guy dirty. He just left his coach in the blue and then jumped over to this dude. It's like, we're gonna know. Everybody's gonna find out. So you don't want that in this sport. So find a coach that fits for you, and it's okay to go to another coach because sometimes you feel like locked in. You just feel locked into that certain coach. And I think along the lines of having a coach as a competitor, it's an investment. Mm-hmm. So you're investing me as a competitor. I'm investing my time into Greg. So as much knowledge as he can give me, you should be okay with asking your coach these certain questions because, like I said, it's an investment that I'm making into him. I'm giving, him my trust and all that stuff. But at the same time, if I want to learn things along the way as prep goes on, you should be okay to ask your coach, these questions. You shouldn't be like, oh, it's this way or that way. And then either, if you don't want to do it, then leave. And that the chemistry is off. The investment is broken. It's lost. Yeah. It's not an investment anymore. So. Right.
And I want to add to that too. Coaches need time to get to learn your body, right? So I stayed with the same coach for many, many years. The chemistry was there, and every prep was always different because we learned something from the previous one. So if the chemistry is there, and if you like your coach, if you get all your questions answered, but you didn't place well, don't dump him and go to the next one because you didn't place well. Because guess what? The next time he's going to know that, hey, white rice probably doesn't work for you, but white potatoes do.
Mm.
So it's small things like that. You have habitual coach jumpers too, and they are just never successful because they never give their coaches a chance to. It's kind of like trial and error thing for the very first show or for a first off season. Give them a chance.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all of you guys' opinions and points. I think I think I think there's a certain level of people, to David's point, there's a certain level of folks that can prep on their own, right? But it's a very small population. I mean, David did it, he got his pro card. Jason, no, not Jason. Wayne Ramos did it, he got his pro card. No coach, right? But you guys are far from a lot of guys, right? It's a small population. And then on the opposite spectrum, and I see this all the time, you have these young kids, right? And they tell me Tess and Deca, right? Tess and Deca. And that's all they know. And I'm like, what is that? I don't know. My friend told me to take it. Right. And these guys are like 19, 20 years old. They don't need to be taking shit at that young of an age,
No.
And so these guys are on their road to disaster,
Yes.
right? They're gonna screw shit up. I can guarantee it, because they're just listening to, like what Ina said, the bro talk, the gym talk,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And they're getting into trouble. So those guys, I would say that they should consult with a coach, right?
Yeah.
Somebody that's been there, done that, understands the supplements, whatever. And then to Allah's point too, it's like communication is key, right? It's an investment on both sides, right? The coach invests his time into the athlete. The athlete invests time into the coach. So me and Allah, we have a really, really good relationship where if Allah does anything, he'll just call me. And we're going to talk about Allah at the ending, but he's like, hey, I'm going to do a powerlifting show. I'm like, yeah, go ahead, man. What should I do with the diet? Just eat whatever the hell you want. And then we'll get back on track after you're done. But he makes it a point to at least reach out and let me know what his plans are,
Mhm.
right? Versus a lot of the other guys that they just do whatever the hell they want. And then jumping from coach to coach, like what Ina said, yeah, that's a bad thing, right? The folks that I know that have jumped from one coach to the next to the next to the next that have never been successful, I don't think it's the coach. I think it's the person,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
They're probably not doing the cardio, they're not following the diet, and they're making excuses and they're blaming other people, and they're shifting the blame to the coach when they should probably be looking at themselves in the mirror. So it's like and like Allah said too, and what you guys said, it's a small community, right? I mean, we all know each other. I mean, I know a bunch of guys on the mainland. David, you know everybody. You guys know everybody, and Allah knows everybody too. So it's like it's just one big circle, but we all know each other. So yeah, so don't like what Ina said, don't burn bridges, But yeah, if you guys feel like you need a coach, go get one. But if you feel like you can do the amazing feat that David and Jason did, then do that too.
And if you guys need to know the way of parting, how to part with your coach in a very nice way, please email me and I'll tell you what to say.
The nice
There you go.
medical sort of way.
Yeah, because so the coach that I parted with, again, we've parted 2 years ago, two and a half years ago. But I know that if I pick up the phone and call them tomorrow and ask to, hey, would you be my coach again? We'll be right back on track.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
For sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
keep those bridges strong. It's
Yep.
important. Okay, so we got understanding the why, we got time, we got relationships, mental stability, we got talked about coaching. The next one is the physical aspect of it, right? So this is where the training comes in. Okay. Obviously you need to find the right gym, right? That you're going to be comfortable in. Some of us might have a training partner, and we need to find the right training partner. You need to understand what workout works for you, right? So Dave, I know that you have a specific gym that you go to, and I know that you have a guy that helps you do your workouts.
Yep.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So as far as the physical aspect of it, I think, and you learn this with time. I think, and I call it leaving your ego at the door. And what I mean by that is who cares if you're in there squatting 315 for 20 reps, but you're only going a quarter way down. You know, you if you're gonna train for a bodybuilding show, you're trying to build your body, you're trying to build muscle, then you need to work the muscle, you know. And sometimes it's not all about the heaviest weights, but it's how you're moving the weights and how effective that technique is. And then, as you said, find you somebody, if you don't already have someone, that can help you make these corrections. You know, on your there's always corrections to make. Nobody's perfect. You know, so find you a training partner that's there, that not only can motivate you and push you to deadlift whole houses like Allah, right? But do it the right way, like Allah does. You know, find you somebody that motivates you and pushes you, yells and screams, but will correct you if you're doing something wrong, stop you before you go too far with it, and keep you safe from a physical point of view. Work the muscle, stress the muscle, and leave your ego at the door. Who cares about no one knows how much you bench when you're on stage. No one cares. No one cares. You know, so I always go back to leaving your ego at the door. Work the muscle that you're supposed to be working that day. Work it effectively and efficiently. And again, have someone that can motivate you, keep you going, but also keep you safe. I remember I was prepping for USA's in I was actually living in Las Vegas, 2015, and I was like 2 weeks out, and I picked up 140-pound dumbbells. And my brother, who was helping me train at the time, he would not let me bench those. And I was feeling great that day. I was feeling great. I was feeling awesome, and he would not let me do them. He said, "Put that shit down. You know, you're carb depleted. You're 2 weeks out. You're gonna pull something." And I mean, he's my younger brother. I used to whoop his ass when I was a kid. You know, like he told me not to do it, and I didn't do it. He kept me safe. He kept me safe. So yeah, always have somebody in your corner that not only trains with you, but trains smart with you and helps to keep you safe. Yeah.
I like to have David with me when I'm in prep throughout the workouts. I think each and every one of us experience that mental block sometimes when we stop at a certain weight because we're afraid to go heavier because there's no one really there to make sure that we don't hurt ourselves. And for me, it was like, well, for shoulder press, I can't go past this weight because I've never done it. And I'm in prep and I'm weak and I don't feel good. Well, none of that was relevant when David was training with me. He'll just kind of give me the next higher up weight and the next higher up. And that's the motivation. And that's someone who pushes you past your own mental limit. And to me, it's mental limits that we have, not necessarily physical. I think physically we can go a lot farther than we think. So having a partner with you definitely helps. And leaving your ego at the door is difficult when you're like 3 weeks out from the show and you realize that you can only lift half of what you're used to. And it's like, oh my God, people are going to look at me like I'm weak. But then you look at yourself in the mirror, it's like, I don't think they will because, I mean, look at how I look right now.
Yeah.
So off season, you know, I usually just wear a sweatshirt and long sleeve everything. But then when prep starts and I'm getting closer to it, sweatshirt goes away because if you're still having your ego creep in that, oh, you know, you should go heavier. No, just look at yourself in the mirror. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. You know, go on and pick up your little 5-pound dumbbells for shoulder press.
Yeah, I think training styles different. They differ for different people. For me, if I could have the perfect combination, like I like to train just crazy, just fucking crazy intense. Like I used to watch the videos of Branch Warren and Johnny Jackson. They would get after it in Arlington, Texas, in this hot jam, just fast. Kind of reminds me of Pacific Island Finish and just the dusty, just rusty, all like dumbbells type shit. Like I like that. That's what I like to train with. And for me, as far as training partners is concerned, I like to train with people that actually lift heavier than me, and that are stronger than me, because for me it pushes me to keep up with them. So I like that type of training. It forces me to keep up with them, and I don't know, I enjoy lift heavy. I'm stupid like that. I don't know why I do it. It just gets me in a zone. I think for me, I feel like that's the best way that my body changes as far as muscle development is concerned. Just the heavy training. That's the way I like to do it all the time. I've always been like that, just hard training. And then when it comes to contest prep, you have to have that mental aspect to turn that switch on and switch everything around because, like Ina said, you're gonna feel like you got to leave your ego at the door. Allah was deadlifting 405 for reps the other like a couple months ago, and now he's barely doing 225. People are gonna talk shit, but
Yeah.
they don't understand it. So
Yeah.
as far as an upcoming bodybuilder is concerned, you have to be able to leave that at the door. Otherwise, you're gonna get hurt, and you don't want that. You're not gonna do the show.
Right.
Yeah.
All that work down the tubes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think one of the things that people need to understand, especially if they're thinking about getting into competition bodybuilding, is that everybody on this call right here, you guys love to train. Am I wrong?
No,
Am I right?
love it.
You guys love the gym. Look at Allah. He can't wait to get into the dusty gym and touch the rusted weights, right? And I know you guys, David and Ina, I know you guys love just the gym atmosphere, right? And training. Believe it or not, man, there's people out there that can't stand the gym. They can't stand to pick up a dumbbell and push a weight, but they want to do a show, right? And it's like, how the hell are you gonna get on stage if you don't want to pick up a freaking dumbbell,
Right.
And that's that whole thing about Instagram, Facebook. I want to look like him. I want to look like her. I want to do this. I want to do that.
Yeah.
But you have to have a legitimate love for lifting weights, right? I mean, you guys have probably been doing it for almost your entire freaking life.
Yeah.
And so if you don't love to pick up that dumbbell or to push that barbell, you're not going to get on stage.
Mhm.
That's first and foremost, right?
Mhm.
And both of you guys, all of you guys talked about ego. That's super important. I think, and Dave and Ala and I'm glad you guys brought it up because I know folks that watch your guys' Instagram, right? And they're like, oh, Allah can do that. I want to try. Or David can push that. I want to try. Or Ina can do that. I want to try. Right. And it's like, no. You heard it from the horse's mouth today.
Yeah.
Leave your ego at the door because you guys are not built like these guys.
Right.
Totally different, man. You know what I mean? Totally different. You guys have been doing this for a long time. But that's the problem with a lot of the kids out there today. They're just looking at Instagram and they see guys, deadlifting 4 or 5 plates and they want to try it, and then they get hurt.
Yeah.
But it's I'm glad you guys pointed that out so that people understand that like David said, when he's in contest prep, he wanted to grab the 140 dumbbells, but he couldn't do it. Right? I mean, mentally he knew he could,
Right.
but realistically, it probably wasn't the best thing to do it 2 weeks out from a show.
Right.
So leave your ego at home. Super important.
And it's not even the big exercises, like squats and deadlifts and all that, but take a very basic, lat pull down for your back. You can load up half of the rack and just kind of, keep bouncing it. But there were a few times when I worked with someone where I dropped the weight, half the weight, but go down, feel the pull, feel the right muscles engaging, let it go halfway, bring it back down, and start doing all these different variations. Oh, wait, you can barely do that with half the weight, but you got your muscle working, right? So we can all go there and all swing the weights all we want, but what are we really doing? Are we building our muscles or we're just kind of getting big? It's what is your goal? So I think a lot of people have to don't really understand that there is another aspect to bodybuilding, actually sculpting, and that comes with drop the weight and start doing variations of your pulls or pushes or whatever it is that exercise calls for. And that takes time to learn, and it takes a good coach to teach.
Yeah. I can't stand the 160-pound dudes at 24 Hour Fitness that's trying to bicep curl 80-pound dumbbells. Yeah.
Wow.
No makes
Throwing their back out.
Oh no.
throwing their back out. Yeah. It's like a shot poo, right? Anyway. We got those guys. They're actually real. They're not fairy tale. They're real. Okay, so we got the why, we got the time, relationships, mental stability, finding the right coach. We got the physical aspects / training. Now let's talk about nutrition and the challenges of nutrition and dieting. Sticking with the diet, being able to eat the right foods, understanding how much protein, carbohydrates, and fats you need to have in your meal plan. How important is that, David? And how do you stay focused on the diet?
The diet sucks. I mean, it really does. Anybody that says that they love a contest prep diet, it like I think they're fibbing. It sucks because it's the same food, and you're not putting Sweet Baby Ray's on your chicken. You're not putting cheese in your grits. You're not putting butter in your rice. And it's every single day. You're not putting sugar in syrup on your yams. You're putting stevia. So it's the diet does suck, but it really is about the end goal and why you're on that diet that will allow you, if your mind is strong enough, to stay on the diet. It's really that simple. A lot of people make it a lot harder than what it is. Like, I want this Burger King, but I can't have it until the show's over. But that takes mental strength, just like we were talking about earlier. And a lot of that mental strength, it comes with time. A lot of people too, they have good genetics and they're able to cheat a little more than other people. But just what if you didn't do that cheat? How much better would you look? So it's all about how you're looking at your end goal and how bad do you want to achieve that end goal. So it's not hard to stick to the diet, really, if you want it. At least for me. And I'm saying this as a person that's been bodybuilding for years. I'm not saying that the person that's jumping into bodybuilding tomorrow is going to have it that easy. It's not going to be that easy, but it will come, it will come. And at the end of the day, if you want, that first place, if you want that national qualification, if you want that pro card, if you want that Olympia qualification, if you want that Olympia win, then you're going to stick to the diet no matter what, because it doesn't last forever. I got guys in my job all the time, and they see me eating the same shit every single day. And I tell them, like, it's okay, man. Like don't feel sorry for me. Don't not eat your Popeyes and because I'm eating this crap. Like, it's okay, because I know it's not going to last. And when I'm good, when we're resting a little bit, I'll eat some things that I want to do. But I choose to do this. This is my choice, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
So we can have a whole another session in nutrition. I think I can talk about it and talk about it so much. It's fascinating how important it is in bodybuilding. It's so much more important than training. You skip a training session, it's okay. You're mess up on one meal, it's gonna set you back. So couple things. So where David and I are different, he's very simple man, right? If he's gonna eat his plain rice and chicken, I like to spice things up in a way that, if I have greens and chicken and let's say rice on the list, you best believe I'm gonna grab the lettuce and make a little chicken rice lettuce boat with little salsa on it, right? And then tomorrow I'm gonna mix it up into something else, because that's how I stay sane. I like variety. So, this week I'm going to bake sweet potatoes. Next week I'm gonna make a little chips out of them. So those are the things that made me. I've been eating the same lunch now for
years.
How long have we been together? Literally the same stuff. It's chicken, greens, and yams, or chicken, greens, and rice. But I make them differently every time. 1 week we'll cook chicken in the skillet, then the next one is going to go on the grill. So it takes a little bit more work. But if you like to enjoy your food, that is my way of enjoying food. 1 week the meals are going to be, with oats actually cooked and eggs cooked next to it. And the next week it's going to be all blended in a shake. Still exact same food prepared differently. So if that's what keeps you sane through the whole process, then hey, just take a little bit more time to prep, but go for it. Another thing I think that's important for the newbies to understand: fat-free, sugar-free doesn't mean bodybuilding diet friendly, right? At some point, like, you have to cut all that out. And for us, it's very important. You can eat 10 packets of Splenda on your food throughout the day, but if you had any idea how much extra water weight you're not carrying and how much insulin you're still shooting out in your system, because how your body reacts to it. But that takes, again, education on your own. And that takes questions from your coach. And hey, coach, can I have this? Can I have that? It was really easy with my coach. It was literally down to how many gums of how many gums I can have a day because of sugar alcohols, you know? So those are the small little details. And I think a lot of people have the misconception, you know, that fat-free ranch is okay all the way up until
Peak week.
right. But the way I've always been is about at 2 weeks out, even Splenda gotta go.
Yeah.
Because again, 10 packets of Splenda, that equals a lot of water weight that you don't even realize you're carrying. And at 2 weeks out, you should be on cruise control where the food is just whatever, just to get through so you don't feel like you're about to die. But I can talk about nutrition for hours. During my first year of competing, I went ahead and got my certification in nutrition just because I was so fascinated with how important the food was. And my first 2 shows, I was so scared to mess up. I literally did not cheat at all. Like not even with the extra half of tablespoon of peanut butter because I was so scared to mess up. I actually, in the first off season, I took a trip to Europe to see my family. And this was 6 months before the show. And I didn't eat anything that my sister cooked because I was so afraid to like mess up. But then as the time went on, I also learned what I can and cannot get away with, right? I learned that my body doesn't like carbs. So I look at rice, I gain weight, but I'm okay with fats. So that also takes, I think, experience to start learning, hey, what works for you? What substitutions work for you? I think another good thing and another good sign of a good coach when it comes to nutrition is what I had a substitution list for carbs, protein, and greens, right? So I didn't have to eat literally the same thing every single day. I chose to because it was easy. But if I wanted to substitute rice with something else, I had a list that literally broke it down how much of that something else I needed. That also takes coaches with experience. And I think the longer the coaches are in this industry, the more of these products they have to provide their athletes. So I'm all for diet food really because I spice it up.
I agree with diet is just, you could do a whole nother episode on just diet alone, is diet and nutrition. You can keep it simple, you could keep it just the straight chicken breasts and potatoes and rice and just plain and just shove it down and chug it with water. And I've been there too. And then, you can go the opposite way and experiment with the types of foods that you have on your list to make prep a little bit easier. 2019, here's a prime example. 2019, a low muscle. Me and Greg was getting ready for a low muscle. And my girlfriend, Janelle, she loves to cook. And what she would do is she would look at the list and see the list. Okay, so this. You can have this, you cannot have this. You can have this, you cannot have this. And what she would do is she would combine some of the ingredients on the list and make some awesome chimichurri sauce or whatever you can to put on top of your tilapia and rice. And that in itself just makes prep a whole another ball game for you. So just enjoy not enjoy, but like experiments with the different ingredients that you have as far as prep is concerned. You can keep it simple. I've done that too. I think one time I've blended my food. I blended it because I was running out of time. I had to get it in my system. I'm like, how am I gonna get this chicken and potatoes? Because I gotta get it in now. So I blended it, and it was horrible. So don't do that. I think I even put salt in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Don't ever do that again. So one advice: don't blend your food. Eat it.
Oh man. But you have to get things done, right? So, you're the second person, Ala, that said that they blended their food and drank it. Mike Dabina, Mike. So he blended his salmon and his rice and added water to that, and he drank that.
Oh.
I said, what did it taste like? He said, it tastes like fish and water.
Never again, Greg. I did it once and never did it again. Nope.
Yeah. No. Yeah, whatever you blend in the blender is what it's gonna look like in your stomach. So it's basically you're just eating the shit in your stomach, dude. Yeah, so do it first, man. But yeah, all on point. Make your meals creative. Like Ina and Ala and David said, and I think first and foremost, but you need to stick to the plan. Don't veer off. Um, there's a lot of challenges to that. There's a lot of foods that are not in your diet plan. There's probably much more foods out there than what you can eat, and being surrounded by all the wonderful food, especially in Hawaii, because you get all the freaking plate lunches and all the freaking desserts and all the lunch wagons and crap. It's tough. So you just gotta make sure you stick to the plan.
And in the
Um,
off season, if you're still in the off season, I think having a life is important. So it's okay to go out places, but do your little homework. Every place we go to, we kind of look at the menu ahead of time and see, is it something that we can do? We know that hibachi for us is okay in the off season because we kind of pick and choose things and how they're cooked. But it's okay to have a life off season because there's a time and a place of being again straight and narrow during prep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you guys touched on this too, and it's I think David talked about it, and he said that every body type is different, right? I mean, you get some guys that can get away with eating pizza during prep, like Jason Imamura, right? And he eats a freaking pizza, and his abs gets tighter, And I'll tell you guys a quick story, and then we'll move on. Alan Ichinose, you guys know Alan, right? So
Yeah.
he's one of the first pros in Hawaii back in the 80s. He said his very first show at the gym, he asked one of the bodybuilders, "Hey, what do you guys eat? Because I have a show coming up in about 12 weeks." And the guy said, "I eat chicken, right?" And I told this story before. So he goes out, he buys Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? And he eats Kentucky Fried Chicken, just Kentucky Fried Chicken for 12 weeks straight.
Oh my!
Okay, and he wins the fucking show. He wins. He takes first place. Okay, I don't
I'm
know.
door dashing KFC right now.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
what it takes.
that's a true story, right? And then he goes on to get his pro card, right? So,
Wow.
but yeah, like David said, I mean, you have the individuals that for some strange reason they can just get away with it.
True.
Okay, so we talked about the why, time, relationships, mental stability, coaches, physical training, nutritional challenges, and then we also have supplementation, right? You have your protein, your basics, and then you have your advanced stuff. Okay, talk a little bit about that, Dave.
And just like Ina and Ala said earlier, this could be a whole live on just this one subject. So I try and keep it short. If you're, I don't know, I mean, if you're a teenager, if you're 20, 21, 20, I mean, I'm telling guys, you need to stick with your creatine, your protein, your natural supplements. Push your body to its natural limit, before you jump into anything else. We all know that drugs are part of bodybuilding. We all know that, but why not see how far you can get before you hop over to that world? Because when you hop over to that world, it's really no going back. You're altering the chemical structure in your body. Like you just are. You're altering your hormones, and where one hormone is all elevates, the body will try and balance it with another hormone, and you're constantly taking, it's part of bodybuilding, but it's a part that needs a lot of education. And I think there's people that won't necessarily have the education or don't want it. They don't pursue it. They don't even think about it. I guess, I mean, it's just, I tell guys to stay natural for as long as they can, just, because you don't know how far you can get. You don't even and I tell people, if you're not like shooting for a national stage or even like a pro card, they don't touch it at all. If you're doing bodybuilding because it's a challenge and you want to lose some weight and you want to get on stage and you want to do your don't go over to that other world. Just don't. Only really get start diving into that if you really want to go somewhere with bodybuilding, because it's it's a different world. It's a different world, and I just leave it at that.
Less is more when it comes to supplements. Like David said, if you're a newbie, start out with your basic, with your protein, creatine if you're a guy, probably not if you're a woman. But then also don't forget the supplement your vitamins, right, and your adrenal support and your liver support, because those are just as important, if not more essential supplements than everything else. And then also it's very easy to just kind of dive into a very dark place of supplementations and bodybuilding, right? But there are consequences for everything that you do, and there are long-term consequences that the people don't think of, because they live with, okay, today this prep, this is what I want to do, but 5 years from now you discover something about now your own health that is like, oh shoot, I didn't even think about that. So to avoid that, for one, less is more, and two, do your research. Like David said, anything that alters your hormones, and this is especially for women, anything that alters one hormone will cause the other one to go up or down, but that at the same time will affect your body physically, and in very, very long term effects. Those are the things that have to be considered, more than anything else. Whether you're in your 20s or your 30s, you want to have a future family, you don't, you have to do research on the things that you're taking, whether it's oral supplements, whether you take the next step. There are consequences for everything. So for a newbie, less is more. See how you can get to your full potential. We have people in our gym that are natural. They compete in natural shows and they look absolutely amazing because they're giving their bodies an opportunity to grow first, right? You can just go ahead and dive into supplements, but when you stop, you're going to revert to whatever you were able to build on your own first. Nothing else is going to stick around. But yeah, that could be another 2-hour live session.
I think for supplementation is what it is. Supplements, right? What are they for? They supplement your nutrition. So your nutrition should be the first thing before supplements. That's what I feel like. Now, you get your basic supplementation, your multivitamins, your liver care, and all that stuff too. You need to make sure that's in line. I think the problem with nowadays with the up and coming bodybuilders, not up and coming, but the ones that want to get into bodybuilding, they're using bodybuilding as an excuse to get into gear. See what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna do a bodybuilding competition. I gotta take this for gear. Like, and that's what they want to do. I see that nowadays, especially like the up and coming guys who thinking about doing a show. Like the first thing they say about, oh, you want to do a show? Yeah, I'll do a show. What do I need to take?
Yeah. First question.
That's the first thing you hear is like, well, take a step back, man. Like, how's your nutrition? What's your supplementation as far as multivitamins? Are you taking fish oils? All these kinds of things. So education with supplementation has to be on its own. It has to be on its own because there's too much to talk about. So as far as like, if you're thinking about being a bodybuilder, take that time in an off season to educate yourself about, supplementation, gear, and hormones and how they change as your body changes before you even start it. That's what type of advice that I can give. Just educate yourself. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say for the guys who are jumping in a bodybuilding show just to take gear, don't you got to think twice because you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yep.
You don't want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and as long as people think that taking gear is gonna make you big, that's not how this all works, right? Because they're there to help you recover more. It takes education. What really happens when you go to the gym? How do your muscles grow? How is the whole microbiology of it works? And how do supplements actually help? It's totally not just helping your muscles get big. That's how you get big. And as long as that misconception is out there, we're going to continue having gym bros with crazy YouTube channels that test the most gear out there possible. And they're going to have followers. Yeah. And those followers really, unfortunately, are going to pay for their mistakes later in their lives.
Absolutely. Yep. Good point, I can get some Joe Blow, and I can put them on the same stuff that David and Ala is on, and I can guarantee you they're not gonna get the same results as David and Ala. Because David and Ala trains hard as hell. They diet freaking hard. And it's not just the freaking gear. People think it's the gear, but it's not.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. It's not, you got to work harder, actually. You got to push yourself harder. So, okay. So here's my little list, right?
The list, crossing them out.
Yeah. So we got the why. So let's just say you're good with the why, the time, relationships, mental coaching, training, nutritional supplements. Do you have the money to do it? Right? That's important. Okay. So based on your guys' experience, why don't we talk about the financials that's needed just to compete?
Bodybuilding is expensive. It is. And I mean, even at the NPC level, like bodybuilding is expensive. Like you got your food, you got your supplements, whether they're over the counter or otherwise, right? You got your coaches if you got a coach, and I don't, unless you're Donald Trump just getting into bodybuilding, you're not going to be, you just don't have, a lot of people just don't have money to throw away like that. So, I mean, bodybuilding is expensive, and you have to be able to support your dream of bodybuilding without breaking the bank. Seriously, without breaking your family or having your family suffer. You got to be able to pay your bills. You got to be able to put food in. If you got kids, you got to be able to feed your food. You look awesome, but your kids ain't eating. Like it's like you really do. It's very expensive, and you have to make sure that you're able to afford it. And then if you're not, then you just have to know, what can I shave? What do I need a coach, or can I wait till next year to get a coach? Do I need all 6 of these supplements, or can I get by with these 3, until I'm in a better place? You got to be smart. And if you have a budget, which everybody should have a budget, if you have a budget, then when you get into bodybuilding, you have to factor bodybuilding into that written budget that you have saved on your laptop or whatever. Me and Ina do it all the time. You got to factor that bodybuilding, that whole show, start to finish, into that budget and see where it fits. And if it don't fit, bodybuilding, it's, in relation to food and lights and mortgage and all of that, is probably low priority. So you're going to have to start shaving off of the body. I would say put bodybuilding in your budget and make sure it fits. And if it doesn't, then, start thinking where you can shave things down.
Mm-hmm. You got to do homework on how much the shows cost, right? For you guys, you get a tan, you slip on some trunks, and you're good to go, right? For us, suits, makeup, hair, nails. I do press-ons because they're only $9.99 and not $45. Save your money there, right? But all that, it's very, very expensive. For a newbie, so the suits range from $300 to $400 to $5,000, right? You're Olympian and you got that $5,000 laying around, sure, go for it. Buy that expensive suit. But from a judging perspective, where I had a chance to judge in Hawaii, and then we were very close with some judges here, they do not care how much your suit costs, right? It doesn't have a price tag on it. So, but what they do care about, that it complements your skin tone, it complements your hair, and it looks good on you. So if you find a $300 one, then guess what? Go buy some stones, buy some little heat glue gun, and bedazzle your suit yourself. My very first suit, it was a very cheap $200 one. I bought a whole bunch of rhinestones, and I just bedazzled the crap out of it, right? Because that's how we save money. So it's important to spend money on coaching. It's important to spend money on food. You have to get your tanning, and then you learn the shortcuts. Again, the press-ons instead of regular nails, right? Suits sometimes on sale, sometimes you can borrow from someone. But finances are extremely important. And also, when you lay out kind of a plan for the year, for the shows that you want to do, they're back-to-back shows everywhere, right? But can you afford to fly everywhere? How does it fit in your job, in your vacation time? Because if you have shows back-to-back, are you going to be flying back, or are you going to spend time where you are, right? So all those things matter. The hotels matter. I think it's while it's important to try to save money and sometimes get Airbnb, if your show is in February and you're in Cincinnati, Ohio, when it snows, you probably want to stay in a host hotel that is physically attached to the venue, right? So you pay more. Small things like that, it's definitely there to consider. But the longer people compete, I think the more they learn different shortcuts. We have a tote, we have a plastic tote up in our storeroom that has everything for competition, right? Towels that we reuse, sheets that we reuse for the shows. And because those things actually, they save us money in the long run. You know, I bought a little heater thing that you just plug in, you put your container inside, and then 30 minutes later, your food is hot. Now we don't have to pay extra in a hotel to get a microwave rented every week, you know, or a small tiny rice cooker. That's how you warm up your food. But those are, I think, the things that you learn with experience. But until you get there, until you kind of know the ballpark figure, what each show is going to cost, you got to be on a very tight budget and make sure that everything is accounted for.
Yeah, you never know how much you're gonna spend on shows as far as finances is concerned, or even prep in general. I think just kind of having a set budget on what you're expecting to go for, and just have a little bit more, because you're gonna come. There's gonna be times where there's gonna be hiccups, unexpected things come up that you have to pay for that you weren't expecting to have. So that extra amount of money that you put away will help. You got to realize too that bodybuilding, when you're starting off, it's a hobby. So you're not getting paid for this, right? No one's getting paid for this. It's all on your own. So people think at the end of the tunnel, you're going to make tons of money and sponsorships and endorsements and all these kinds of things. Not necessarily, not really. Unless you're like the top dogs who like just does this full time, you're not really there yet. So before you start, you need to understand that this is a hobby. And so all the money that you make, you're putting into your hobby. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to do those fundraisers, because I've done them. I've done them personally. I've done fundraisers. I've sold Rainbow Bread at one time. And this past prep that I did, my good friends of mine, Damien and Jenny, they helped me by doing a garage sale at their house. And part of their money that they sold at their house, they donated to me for USAs. So don't be afraid to ask for help as far as money is concerned. We're all trying to achieve the same goals. And if people can understand that, it'll be a lot easier for you.
Sure. No, I respect that a lot, Ala. I respect the fact that you ask for help, but you still work for that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I have to say this because my biggest pet peeve is people using GoFundMe page for a hobby, right? My hobby is I collect Swarovski crystals, which are expensive. So should I go on GoFundMe page and say, hey guys, donate it. I got this very beautiful figurine that I want to get. It's very expensive. I can't afford it right now, but it'll make me feel good when I can. But I see people doing that. I got unfriended by people who would have these GoFundMe pages, and I just kind of speak out about it, because this is your hobby. You work for it. So if you want people to help you, then you also have to work for it too. Like you said, garage sales. Hell, I'll do a bake sale if I can. Like I will bake. I actually love baking while I'm in prep. This is really weird. It's the smells, right? So I'll bake to, have a bake sale to collect the money, but just sit there and make a post and get a GoFundMe page because you want to do a bodybuilding show. I can't respect that.
It's not going to work. The intentions are different. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So.
I think I've seen those posts, and it really pissed me off, Never use a fucking GoFundMe to go do a fucking show, bro. That's like dirty. That's absolutely dirty,
It's sad. I think another thing that some newbies have to understand. Sometimes you spend so much money on a show, and you have to be ready to come back home with nothing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? And I think it's especially relevant when it comes to USA's and any type of national show. Flying from Hawaii to Miami for nationals is a complete nightmare that costs you an arm and a leg and a kidney, right? But you have to be ready to do all that and understand that there's a chance you can come back with nothing. And if you're okay with that, then go on, you know. But if not, have to reconsider what you're doing.
Right. That's a good thing you brought up with, especially with the national shows too, because you expect so much out of them, right? And you're training, especially coming. Well, you guys know, especially coming from the islands, coming from Hawaii in general. The bodybuilding community is small, so when people hear about you going to the national shows, everybody's gonna hype you up, right? And then you go to a national show and you get third call outs and you get trashed. What do you come back with?
Right.
Sometimes it can be a blessing, sometimes it can be a nightmare. So it all depends on what you're looking for as far as your end goal for that is concerned. For me, I'm gonna jump into this real quick. USA's last year, third call outs. It was trash, horrible. Spent all this money to get there. We stayed at the host hotel for an extra week to do peak week at the host hotel. And Arizona Grand is not cheap, right? It's a resort. Stayed there, did all that stuff there. Bought a rice cooker and just small things to make everything work in the hotel room. For what? For third call outs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And me, I was like, well, there's more to learn from that than just that. So for me, that's where the real rewards is at. It's not about the money, right? It's about what I've learned from that experience, and then just move on.
Right.
Some people can come back to the islands and be like, yeah, the judges did this. I got third call outs because this guy had nicer trunks than me, or whatever the fuck. I don't know. But it all depends on the person.
It does.
Yeah. That's a good segue into what I was about to talk about. Ala is, we don't want to discourage anyone, but this is reality, right? I mean, because you guys live it, you guys know what it takes to compete. Finances is definitely a struggle, no matter where you live, right? Hawaii is tough because Hawaii is freaking expensive as hell. Food is expensive. Traveling off island to get to the freaking mainland is expensive. Hell, just doing a freaking show is expensive. Registration fees went up. So I mean, you go do a local show in Hawaii, you're gonna spend like $140.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I did my first show, I spent like $30. So. And then your NPC card is like $25 now. So and you just need that just to compete. And then tanning alone, you can spend about $150. So it all adds up, right? But I don't want to discourage folks, because what I want you guys to understand is that if you do everything right, if you do everything correctly, you reap the benefits of getting into the best shape of your freaking life, right? And also, you get to meet wonderful and awesome people like David, Ina, and Ala, and you create a nice family circle. And then you're also able to understand how your body works in regards to nutrition, training, cardiovascular, and resting. And 99.9% of the population will never experience that. Right. So my advice is, do it right, understand what you're getting into before you get into it, and then your journey will be much more enjoyable, and speak to the folks that have the knowledge, like David, Ina, and Ala. So what I want to do right now is I want to pull up, I'm going to pull up your guys' Instagrams, if you guys don't mind, so people can reach out to you folks.
Okay.
I'm going to pull up Ina's first. Well, Rose is going to pull up Ina's first. She's the techie person.
All right.
So Ina, this is your Instagram, right? It's Miss Ina Fit, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Is it okay if folks reach out to you if they have questions about nutrition? I know you talked about females and nutrition supplementation and stuff like that. Is it okay if they reach out to you and DM you?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, look at David.
He plays that nice sometimes.
He got the angle. He found the angle on that one.
Is the angle right?
His sugar was low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at the red hair on this one. When did you color your hair? You
That was right before COVID happened last year. I was blonde my whole life. I was born very, very light, and then just the hair kind of got darker. And then I remember last February, I think it was like subconsciously anticipation of a big change of us like just sitting at home, and I needed something new. I told my hairdresser, I said, let's try something new, maybe a little bit of red, thinking that she was going to give some like red streaks into my blonde. She turned me into a complete redhead. With one sitting, I showed up at home and David said, "Whoa, I didn't expect that," but it stuck. I mean,
it's nice. It matches you.
It's kind of hard to actually go back to blonde, so I think I'm just gonna stick with this. And then I think that we live in Midwest, and there's so many redheads here. Natural redheads. I fit in. And the good thing is now I can actually do different color suits. So as a blonde, you have to stick to certain colors.
Uh-huh.
And now with being a redhead, I can actually go to different colors that I couldn't before.
It's awesome. That's awesome. I like what LC said. The Dark Phoenix. That's exactly what popped into my mind. I saw that picture. X-Men. Cool. All right. Thanks, Ina. So if you guys want to reach out to Ina, if you guys have any questions, it's Miss Ina Fit on Instagram. Message her and then let her know that you saw Ina on the YouTube, just so that she knows that you're not a creeper and she can accept your DM. Okay, guys. All right. Let's pull up Dave's.
Right there.
Oh, look at that right there. Okay. All right, let's click on the first photo. So Dave, I know you're gonna do a show coming up, right?
Yep.
This is 209 freaking pounds, man. You look like 400 freaking pounds in this picture.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's some quality muscle right there, man. Look at that.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
When's your show, Dave?
August 6th in Tampa. And then August 14th, we're going to Texas the following weekend to do Texas.
Okay. 3 weeks out?
Yep, 3 weeks.
Awesome, man.
Yep.
Cool. And then Dave, they can message you too, right? If they have questions.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And Dave's Instagram is Reaper_Robinson IFBB Pro. Again, let Dave know that you watch this YouTube video, just so that he knows that you're not a creeper, And if you guys have any questions for Dave, go ahead and reach out. Dave's super approachable, guys. Don't let the big muscles and the scary scare you. Okay.
Nice guy.
He's the most humble guy that I know. All right. Okay, let's pull up Ala. And then Ala, they can you don't mind if folks reach out to you as well with any questions that they might have?
That's all good. All good.
Perfect. Let's go pull up Ala's video. I wanna
show that first video. Show that one.
I love this video.
Oh yeah,
this is called mental focus, man. Right here.
Yeah. I watched this like 100 times, man. It's crazy.
There's like nothing.
People think those weights are fake, man. Like you get like if they look fake. But we all know they're not,
Oh, my back.
It's crazy.
500 for an opener.
Crazy.
All right. 7 weeks out. Ala, what show are you doing? I mean, what competition you doing?
So it's going to be Sonny's Wabdo, World Association of Bench and Deadlifters out here in Kona at Imua Iron. So it's going to be a sanctioned one. So it's going to be fun. We'll see what happens. I haven't done powerlifting in a while. So the last time I competed in powerlifting was, I think, like 2016. So we'll see how I do. I'm just going for it because I love lifting heavy shit. So
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Cool. All right, guys. So we hope that you guys enjoyed this segment. Just wanted to just do a quick summary before we log off. But if you guys can take a look at this, so these are the notes from today. Where's the stupid camera? How do you get this? There's right there. Okay. So we talked about, if you wanted to get into bodybuilding, understand the why, make sure you take a look if you have, time constraints, and if you have the time to actually do a show, measure your relationships, make sure that your mind is in a good mental state. If you need one, hire a coach. If you think you can do it on your own, then by all means, you can do that as well. Training is important. Find the right training partner, the right gym. Understand, the best training methods for you, and leave your ego at home, like David and Ina and Ala said. Nutrition is important. Make your meals exciting. Spice it up. Make sure you don't cheat or deviate from the plan. Supplements, start with your basics. For those of you guys who want to, consider going to the dark side, maybe you shouldn't at the beginning. Maybe you should just try and see how far you can push your body being natural. But if you do decide to go to the dark side, make sure you get advice, do your research, because you want to make sure that if you look good on the outside, you want to make sure that your insides are taken care of too, right? So go get your blood work done, like Ina said. And make sure that you're following that. Finance is super important. It's probably one of the most important things. If if you have to turn off your lights or not pay your mortgage to compete, I will tell you don't do it, because having a roof over your head is a lot more important than you getting on stage.
Yeah.
All right. Just wanna do a real quick plug for the GY Fitness website. It's actually a new website, yeah. So it's Rose keeps updating things, and we've got different supplement lines now on here. This is a banner that she just created. So take a look. If you guys need anything, there's discount codes. There's an affiliate program with some folks. You guys can get on there. And then what I also wanted to do is I wanted to pivot. I wanted to go to a this is for the girls out there. So Rose signed up with a company called Tongue and Groove Fashion. And so she's an affiliate with this company, and they sell all kind of different female fashion wear. So, if you guys want to take a look at this website, a lot of stuff is sold out. But from what we hear, it's inventory is coming back in, but the prices are like really, really good. So I mean, you can get these sexy shorts for like $16. Look, it makes it actually what do you call that? It makes the butt look better, I guess. But yeah, so just wanted to give a shout out to Tongue and Groove Fashion, or TNG. And then if you guys have any questions, if you guys have any comments, please leave it on our YouTube. You can please feel free to reach out to David, Ina, and Ala on their Instagram. I hope you guys enjoyed this segment. If you guys are thinking about competing, hope you guys took notes. If not, then you can reach out to any one of us, and we'll be happy to talk more about it. So, anything else? Oh yes, we also have a live coming up at 6:00 with IFBB Pro Tracy Barbadillo.
See.
Tracy. So we're gonna actually talk about her journey prior to competing, and then her journey up from when she competed to getting her pro card. And so this should be exciting. It's first time we're gonna have Tracy on our YouTube. We actually saw Tracy at the 2021 Ikaika Classics at Armed Forces last Saturday, and we were able to chat with her. She's actually competing in the Pittsburgh Pro coming up in a few weeks, right? And she's gonna do the Masters, Masters IFBB. So that should be an exciting conversation. So if you guys have time and you're not doing anything on a Saturday evening, you're not going out and drinking, then jump onto our YouTube, and we're gonna talk to Tracy and get her story, and kind of understand where she came from. So pretty interesting. I've known Tracy for quite a bit of years now. So I was actually with her at Powerhouse Gym on Calvary Street when she first walked into the gym. And I think she was, at that time, she was about 180 pounds. So, but I'll let her talk more about her journey. Yeah.
Right on.
All right, guys. So, hope you guys enjoyed this segment. For David, Ina, and Ala, I'm Greg with GY Fitness, and we will see you guys next time.
Hey, guys.
And we
Thanks, guys.